All right, we're back at it. Day 11. This video, I wanted to make this one mostly about escapism and kind of what that looks like and why it's important and how it affects you and how it affects me and what you can do to avoid escapism mentality. In the previous video, I talked a little bit about I kind of want to run away from my problems, or I kind of want to just, live a life of not really solitude, but just kind of just get away. And I think that's kind of like innately within a lot of people. You're just wanting to get away. I think that's why people go on vacation, just to kind of escape life's problems and life's complexity, if nothing else. So, and to get out of the routine. But here's the issue with that is whenever you come back from those vacations, you hate almost coming back to your life. And I think that's terrible. Like I genuinely believe that's horrible for your mind to be like, oh wow, you really don't like. I mean, before it was like, yeah, I don't like my job, and now it's like I could quit today. Like that's the difference. And I'm not saying you need to live your life on vacation all the time, but your vocation should be something that you're proud to be involved in, like excited to go back to work, or, like a vacation is good, but like it's good to go back to work where you're like, oh yeah, man, I get to work on this. I'm excited that this is coming out and like we're doing this and this. Like it needs to be something you enjoy doing to some extent. It shouldn't be like dreading going back. And I think that kind of comes down to a perspective change, or paradigm shift. So the paradigm shift of what does that look like necessarily? It's like, well, I get to come back to my job because I'm doing big things in my job, and we're making big moves. We're changing the world. We're doing all the things. And I think if you had that mentality going into your job, then you wouldn't dread going back to it as much. Doing something that you feel like is worthwhile kind of keeps you engaged in what you're doing. I feel like we go on vacation as normal people, wanting to escape from the reality that we have created for ourselves, because we're not victims. We believe that the reality we live in is set by us. And that's what I believe. And if you really believe that, then you believe that your reality is the way it is because of you. If you, turn to things that are like a cheap dopamine drug that is being, put into your system, that you're able to just numb the pain to be able to survive another week, another month, another year in your job, another 10 years for some people, then, is that really the way you want to live your life? Because you're barely getting by. And I think a lot of people say, well, I want a side hustle after my job, and it's too hard. And it is hard. It's very hard. And after you work 12 hours and you're like manual labor, or if you're just, working 6.5 hours or 7.5 hours in a corporate job where you're having to put on a fake smile and you have Karens bickering and your boss is telling you how to do things when they don't even know how to convert a PDF into a JPEG, or, or whatever it is. It's disheartening. It's annoying. It's just emotionally draining. And I think that really the only way you're going to be able to do a side hustle to get out of that is if it's something that you feel like is bigger than yourself, and you're able to, and you're working toward a goal, like your dreams are set high. I think if you're like, oh, I'm going to flip cars, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you can do that and you can make some cash, but it's just it's not bigger than yourself sort of thing. That's a very realistic goal expectation. That's small-minded thinking. Unless you're thinking along the lines of, oh, I want to have one of the biggest car dealerships in my state, then that's going to be a higher goal. Or, I want to be able to have a massive car dealership so I can donate one car a month to veterans. or families where their children are suffering from some kind of ailments or whatever it is, and it's just bigger than yourself. So, unless you're pushing toward a goal like that, it's hard for you to be motivated to do something that's kind of small-minded thinking. So, yeah, to get away from all that. So, but I don't think you're ever going to think big if you're trying to constantly escape from your life. So if you're constantly on your phone scrolling, or if you're, reading a fantasy book, or if you're watching, I'll just break it down where I feel like my escapism goes is, um, you know, substances. I don't, abuse substances, but there's, there's different things. Like I like smoking a cigar, like, just, you know, getting a little alcohol with my friends, couple beers, whatever it is. Um, that's, I, that's like bonding time. That's fun, stuff like that. And I don't think there's really anything too wrong with that at all, inherently wrong. But I do think there are things that are worse than that. And I think those can lead to even worse things. Whatever it is that will affect your relationships, dipping. I have friends that dip, bless them. Uh, I was, doing Zen and on for a long time, very consistently. And I eventually got off of that. Praise the Lord. And after that, I've just been doing cigars, once a month or something along those lines. Food is another one. I think video games are one. People who watch TV, especially, TV shows in a different world, setting place in a different world outside of reality. And, fantasy books. I think, I enjoy watching anime. Those sort of things is a different lifestyle, a different fantasy world, a different reality than what I'm living in. And it's a form of escapism. I think video games, if you want to, I think there's some video games that wouldn't fall in that line, but I think if you're playing video games like Call of Duty, or if you're playing games on your phone, or, stuff like that, I think you're getting away from the reality. And, maybe even racing games. Racing games, like, well, hey, if you want a car in real life, and if you can't have that, then like, well, I'll just, live vicariously through a video game. It's like, yeah, but it's good to have motivation for those things in your real life. Like the money you're going to go spend on playing a game, you should go spend renting that car in real life and trying it out and seeing if you actually like that car. And if you do like that car, you should start saving to get that car. So all the things. The point of what I'm saying is, I think escapism or dopamine, or however you want to phrase it, it prevents you from going after your goals, and it dulls your senses on the reality of your situation. Why would you want to not have your senses dulled? Okay, well, say if you're a lonely person, if you are a single guy who doesn't have a wife, who doesn't have any future prospects, whatever it is, and you think to yourself, well, I don't have anybody in my life. I'm going to go watch a romantic movie, and pretend like and find and see other people enjoy love. Or I'm going to go work out, or whatever it is. And I think working out is great. I think there's good escapism that can be utilized to the goals that you want to go. So maybe, and I'm fleshing this out while I'm talking about it, but, a lot of people turn to porn and stuff when they realize that they don't have any emotional, good relationships with females in their life. A lot of guys do, and women too as well. Probably different types than what guys do. But if you feel like you're a failure in your life, we often gravitate toward cheap things that make us feel better about that topic. And in the reality of what we should be doing is we should be analyzing, okay, let's not do that. And let's escape to the things that are actually going to make our situation better. So if you feel like you're poor and you want to feel rich, people go to credit cards. Well, instead of going to credit cards, maybe you should use your money to try to go invest in something. So then go and spend it on a watch that makes you feel rich. You should go spend it on some stocks that, you're spending the money and take some time, invest and find things that are actually worth spending money on. I don't know. I think you can convert your escapism into things that are actually valuable. Yeah, so I know I've been talking for a minute now. I'm stopped, and now I've kind of already lost my train of thought. If you don't like your life, face the facts. Don't run away from it. If you want to do something and you can't afford it, don't do it. If you want something and you want a way to obtain it, don't go the cheap route when it comes to instant gratification. Go the route that is going to give you a feeling of progress. So I think the best example, and this is one that I'm going to go for myself, like I don't really want a Camaro. And I used to work for a car company or a rental car company that had some very nice, expensive cars. And there's cars that I really want because of my experience driving those vehicles. But a lot of those vehicles are just too expensive for me. Like I genuinely can't afford them, and it's probably going to be, and I need to be making, $10,000, $20,000 a month for really me to be able to afford those cars. And I'm just not there. I'm not even close. So I'm kind of on the fence about buying a racing simulator. But I think what would be better is if I just, the money I would spend to buying like a racing simulator in the game and, hooking up to my PC and like putting it in my room. I think a better step for me right now would be just to go rent that car for a day and just enjoy that car and, try it out. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's going to be my next step. And yeah, it's not an investment. And yeah, I'm pretending to, live that life in that vehicle. But it's different because, it's an actual tangible vehicle. And it's not something I can just spend hours and hours and hours and hours and a limited amount of time doing those things. It's a finite amount of time. And I'll be able to figure out if I like that car or not and then be done with it. So I think that's going to be my next step, to kind of redirect my urge to escape from reality in certain situations. So I think that's it. Kind of a longer one, and I've talked the whole time, so hopefully it wasn't too boring. I had a previous video that was kind of boring, and I guess I'll post it, but just for the sake of the vlogs numbers staying true. But some of these are wins, some of these are misses. Hopefully they'll all be wins eventually. All right, take care, and I will see you in the next one.